Peace, everyone. Welcome to the weekly sermon that's one day late, and it have some circumstances that we're going to talk about. But it's nice to hear from everybody soon, I hope. I'm just going to let this run for a little bit, see how everyone is doing. I think your light's a little too much. But yeah, I think that's better. So it's nice to see everybody. Tell me about the audio. There was an incident in regards to my device that I use for audio, right, for my microphone. I either misplaced it or it kind of fell out of my bag when they were going through checkups. So my mic might not be up to par, but just let me know if you guys can hear me at least somewhat properly. I might try a different mic, the one that's on the camera, but I think this is the best mic that I have. You sound good, bro. Thanks, Hamza. Peace, JS. It's nice to hear from you, as always. Nassau, good evening, bro. It's nice to hear from everybody. I am just gonna let this run for a little bit. We're gonna shoot the conversation for a little bit until people show up, and then today's sermon. Hi, bro. What happened with yesterday? Yesterday I was on the road. I was going from Lebanon into Syria. So unfortunately, that passage is a little difficult, just because I used the land border to cross into Syria, because unfortunately the airport is not as safe as it should be. Plus, flights between Damascus and Beirut is extremely expensive. Peace, Vicky. So I did move it one day ahead. It is today. I didn't make an announcement because, again, like, you're on the road. But even between the borders between Lebanon and Syria, the land border, it's called the Masna border. The Zionists were very nice to leaving two really big holes, and it's about an 8-kilometer stretch, but they decided to put like two big holes for cars not to be able to pass by. So what ended up happening is there's obviously cars that are coming from Lebanon to the first hole, and then there's cars that are coming from Syria to the other hole, and then there's this distance of about 6 kilometers where there's cars that are stuck in there. So they can't leave, and they can't leave either side. So what they end up doing is driving people from one side of the hole, like the first hole, to the other hole, and drive people back. But just because they're giving you a service that they have to give you, it is a very extensive, long walk. So they charge you. They charge you as much as you're willing to pay, pretty much. So that was interesting. I did go quite late at night. I did have a thing that I had to attend to before leaving Beirut. So I left Beirut, I head to the border. I got to the border around 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. It's already too late for the sermon at that point, to my time. And then I had to walk to Syria. So that was interesting. There was some people that helped me. I did get to Damascus last night. Then took a bus down to Aleppo, the city that I'm from. I'm going to be spending some time here. So I apologize maybe if the stream quality is a little bit not up to par, what you guys are usually used to from MFG. But what I'm going to have to do now is set up a quick studio, because there are some things that I really want to address. And there's some things that I really want to make videos about. So there are some exciting things that are coming. So peace, Brother Dicky. Peace, JS. It's nice to hear from you again. Hello, can people phone in your show to ask questions? Thanks. Not this sermon. There are other places. There are other streams that I do where people can't come up on the stage. Usually it's supposed to be debating me, but it ends up with a lot of people ask me questions or telling me what they think, which is always nice. Brother Simopia. I see you comment often, brother. It's very nice to hear from you. Thank you very much. Sister Jess, peace. And sorry, I just messed with my mods. But with that said, today's sermon is about the remembrance, or the importance of remembrance. I am going to give it about 5 more minutes before we start. YouTube is not very nice to me lately. They just don't want to advertise my stuff when it's supposed to be advertised. The thing is, they really want you to work extremely hard on the YouTube platform for you to stay relevant for what they consider as relevant. So what I have to do is is start to build up the content again, and that time they'll start listening to me, and I will do what I have to do. SS. Peace. No, Ahmed, I'm not. I left yesterday or this morning. Like, yeah, so from yesterday to today, I'm now in Syria again. There are some work that needs to be done here as well. I don't know if I'm going to make a drive here. Bringing the money here is going to be extremely expensive. So there is ways that I am going to help. There is some plans that I'm trying to push. But yeah, I have been. Oh yeah, just so that people know. What I want people to know is, and then the other thing is, I want to go to YouTube and show you something. I have been doing the Quranic remedies again. I'm trying to make it daily, but because of the pressure of what I need to accomplish, it is not as consistent as I would like it to be. So there is a YouTube channel that I made specifically for the Quranic remedies, for people who know what the Quranic remedies are. If not, it's pretty much a show that I do every day. It's supposed to be every day, where I take a page from the Quran, we read it together. I read it in Arabic, I read it in English, and then I start to discuss some of the Quranic gems that I find, things that help you heal your brain, heal your spirit, your soul, the things that you're going through. Not so much of an exegesis per se, but how you apply the verses to your life. So, and this is actually a good segue into what we're going to be talking today. I apologize, the congregation is a day late. I was a little bit tied up yesterday with what I had to do. So we did have an excellent drive as well. There are the displaced people in Lebanon. It's really sad to see. We've raised around 10,000 Canadian dollars, which is equivalent to about $7,000 US, maybe a little bit more. We distributed that by hand. I distributed that by the grace of my Lord, first of all, and by the help of the believers, to people all across Lebanon. And it was, or Beirut, to be honest. And it was very awesome to do and experience. And that went as good as it could be. I think it could have been a little bit better. I learned some new things. And anyways, okay, so some people are really awesome. But with that said, today's sermon, in the name of God, the merciful, the gracious, I do ask my Lord to help me against the accursed devil. May God give me the words that I want to. May God give me the words that I need to express what I would like to express to the crowd. And today's topic is about how you practice remembrance, practicing your remembrance. Now, God in the Quran says that Sad wal Quran wal Qurani bil dhikr. So the Quran has the remembrance, and God also says that in chapter 21 that He brought down the book has your remembrance, just so that you could understand. لَقَدْ أَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكُمْ ذِكْرَكُمْ. So we brought down your remembrance so people would understand. Now, the thing that's important, God talks about the remembrance often in the Quran. The Quran is a way for you to attach yourself to your Lord, and a way for you to gain this attention that you should have about your Lord. But there's also the concept of remembrance, is that when certain things occur in front of you, you should be capable, or you should have the ability to remember certain phrases from the Quran, certain stories, certain things that happened to the prophets or other people that are mentioned in the Quran, where you could see the relation. You could see how the example is applying. Because after God gives you the example, or after God gives you the story of what occurred, what usually ends up happening is He tells you the result, or He tells you what they should have done in certain places. For example, if you see people who are doing the things that the devils beneath Solomon used to teach, the magic, or whatever people are learning from the two angels, Harut and Marut, whoever buys into it to separate wives and husbands from each other, and then at that point they have nothing in the hereafter, as God says. But then God also gives you the answer, that if they were aware of God, if they knew, if they stayed pious, then they would have had a better result, because the original conclusion of what they chose to do is just, it's wretched in the end. So the Quran itself is telling you the answers of what you need to do. Now, how do we remember this stuff? How do we practice the remembrance? This is one thing that God has given us, which is the discipline of your daily prayer. Now, In your daily prayer, because you're constantly connecting to God in the times that He told you to connect, as soon as you finish your prayer, what ends up happening is you're remembering, because of the mindset that you were in, as you're going through your day, you're remembering certain things from what you've been reading, what you've like now became subconsciously attached to, the things that are always apparent to you that you remember back to God. You connect it back to God. This is why we have these remembrance, because I could notice an event and I could make it about myself. I could make the thing or whatever the person's going through. I can say, yeah, I made that about, like I went through it some way, somehow. He's saying my story. In fact, this is actually a sign of hypocrisy rather than faith in you seeing the signs of God. Because as soon as you make everything about you, that these events are about you, everything is about me, and this happened because it's like my story, and this person is knowing me, and it's me, 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 me. God says that the hypocrites, they think that every shout is for them, that people are always calling upon them. So they're very self-centered. Now, the difference between making everything about you or making everything about God, that is the difference between faith, and that's the difference between hypocrisy. So when I am presented an example of somebody discussing to me something that's ongoing with their lives, let's say that they're having a problem with their mother, or let's say that they are having a problem with their job and their career. There are, based upon the situation, because every situation should be judged uniquely. Yes, there are certain circumstances where there is a blanket understanding of what needs to be done or what needs to be judged. But every situation has its unique touch where the judgment could differ because of the lack of information, or you needing more information for you to make the judgment. So for me to be a fair judge, I have to see how the verses of God are applying to each situation and to be as honest as I can. Some people try to push the laws or to maneuver the laws to fit their needs, and some other people make the laws a little bit more harsher than what they have to be, and some people are not even applying the laws at all. But the way that we know what we're doing is right is God helps us in remembering Him. Now, one thing that I personally had in my life, it's when you are put in situations, especially when you're dreaming, where you are trying to deal with whatever's happening at hand. You know, in your day-to-day, it is easy to talk about God as we're talking about God now, to remember God. I hope many of you are remembering God and thinking about God as we're doing this. But there's some people that are just going through the actions. So they can literally be talking about God, God's book, and then some situation happens and then they lose their anger. They lose control of themselves. They become angry. They become emotional. They start talking in a certain way. It's as if like, bro, like, we were just talking about God. Did you forget He's here now? And it's very easy for a human being to go through that. Like it's nice when you see like a group of people and there's some funny business going around, so everyone's laughing, but you slowly forget to remember God in certain situations. But the believer, the one who's constantly always practicing this connection, that even in your dreams, when something happens, whether it's you're looking for the signs inside your dream, or you ask God for help within your dream when something is happening, this is actually a very big sign that you are someone who is turning to God often. Because in your dream, you're going truly through the subconscious most of the time, unless if you're having a lucid dream, knowing that you're dreaming, that's different. But those don't really occur to people, especially except under certain circumstances. But most of us, when we are dreaming from our subconscious. So our subconscious is always doing the reactions based upon what's happened. So if we're an evil people, we technically might do evil things. If we're people that are talking a lot about God, but we never rarely mention God in our dream, maybe our subconscious is not attached to God, but our tongues and ears and what we perceive is. So the way that you, again, remember God often is by maintaining, respecting, and observing the prayer that God told you to do. Because within your prayer, at this point, you're not talking to anybody. You're not addressing anything. You're not addressing anyone's situation. No one should be distracting you. You should be in the zone, right? Prayer zone. So in auto zone, the prayer zone, at that point, you are connected in a way that you are truly submitted to what God is telling you, what God has told you, and that practice and that habit becomes something that is natural for you, becomes something that you do not need to engage and invoke. So as I'm talking to you guys right now, this second, there's something that I constantly do so that when I am saying things, it is measured in a way that I know that I'm being witnessed. Now, I've said this trick a few times before, but I like repeating it. So maybe somebody, because it's difficult to explain, but when you achieve it and you start to activate it, you see why people put those little like circles or like these halos around people's heads, because it is a feeling of a halo. Like it's something that you can activate. So you guys all have a cell phone. Let's assume the cell phone's not next to you. Where is the cell phone? You can think about the cell phone while not seeing it. So you're in a room. You know where your kitchen is in the house. Think about your kitchen. You can see it because you've seen it, but you can literally know where the kitchen is in your house just by knowing that it's there, right? So you can, well, it's not attaching it, but you can kind of perceive where it is in your mind. You use your third eye and you know where the kitchen is. Imagine if you have somebody sitting in a room next to you, somebody that you know they're there, they're sitting on their computer, they're doing their thing, but you can, when you want, remember that that person is there. And you now it's like in the back of your head, this person is there behind this wall. I can feel his presence. I know, I can sense that not sense, but I can realize that he's here because I'm very sure that he's here. And I can remember that often. But now you can do that with your Lord because we know where our Lord is. He's above us. He's above everything, right? Anywhere you go, he's always above you, and he's always there, right? Now, you don't have the visual image of God, so you cannot perceive him visually. That's something that we're going to attain and we're going to have a privilege of on the day of judgment, where God gives you a visual image that when you are talking to your Lord, you get to even visualize him. And at that point, there is no more darkness. Your light is complete to a point where you are capable of talking to God from your heart, and all your prayers are accepted at that point because you're in heaven. But if you're somebody that is not worthy of that, God brings you up blind. You don't get to see that amazing thing that literally fixes your brain instantly. All the guilt, all the jealousy, all the things that you had in your brain as idealistics, and all the lies that you might have took, the falsehood, the hate between each other, all these issues that you had, they all instantly drop. Why? Because you're completely healed. You're completely fixed. You have a visual image of the remembrance. You really know how God looks like to you. Obviously, we're not going to see God in his truest form, but we're going to have a visual, like maybe a light that we can remember whatever it is. SubhanAllah on that day. But and may God help us on that day. But in this world right now, you can activate that halo. You can activate that connection at any point. You're talking with somebody and the conversation is funny and the conversation is cool, right? But then you start having these ideas because of the person that you're talking to, right? And you know that you are now stepping onto a line that maybe you're getting too close to comfort. You activate the halo, you get scared because you know if you take a little bit more few steps, now you know consciously that God is watching you, yet you took the step. So now that's where the concept of fear comes in. As God says, that you are standing your prayer. Why? So that it blocks you from obscenities and it blocks you in immoralities. I recommend to anybody, and I seriously mean this, anybody who just went into the religion, spend daily in the times of prayer, an hour in the morning, an hour in the afternoon. It might seem a lot to you, but it's because you're going to start now to, like, it's like how when you go to the gym, the first 2 weeks, you get really big muscles, so you get really excited. I wish I could, well, I don't know how I can say this without making it sound wrong or blasphemous. I wish I know what I know now because I love my connection with my Lord, and I hope my Lord always forgives me and brings me into his mercy. But I wish I could have that opportunity to read the Quran like I don't know what it's about to say. Because those moments were the most eye-opening, amazing moments where like there's a lot of healing being done. And then peace, everybody. I apologize. I don't mean to miss out on the comments. Exactly. So as Sister Jess is saying here, prayer is many things. One is self-correction and being God conscious. So at the beginning, when you're first reading the Quran, the healing process is happening very quickly. But then later, when you've done it for like, let's say 5 or 6 years, it becomes your maintenance. but at the same time, you start to optimize your thoughts, and it keeps you in track in that line. But then the thing that is amazing about the Quran, about the remembrance of God, specifically the remembrance of God, it helps you become a psychiatrist. It really does. Because you start to analyze not only the situation, but the thought behind why people are doing what they're doing. Because you know what God's conclusion is. You know what God is telling you to do and what not to do. Do not hurt your brother, okay? Do not transgress. Be nice to your parents. Take care of the people who are hungry. Take care of the orphans, right? Okay, now I've seen an individual realize that a person is an orphan, but yet he started to make fun of them because he's seen him in a moment of weakness. Now I have to sit here and with like the empathy that God has given us, not to be empathetic to the oppressor, but to see his point of view, to sit in his mind a moment and to analyze his thinking process. Why did he go through the floods to reach where he reached so that he would hurt that child who's an orphan, but he's maybe hurting him with a word, maybe he's saying something or he's acting mean to him? Well, then the only conclusion you reach to is arrogance. That man is arrogant. He thinks he's bigger than what he is. He thinks he's more important, so that child is not to his level. Okay, now I've reached the conclusion of that man is arrogant. Now, quickly in the Quran, God doesn't like the arrogant. And arrogance is something that's in someone's heart, right? That they cannot beat it. Like someone who's arrogant cannot beat his own arrogance. They cannot go on top of their own arrogance. The only way you beat somebody's arrogance is not by breaking it. It's literally for them to go down and humble themselves. And if they cannot humble themselves, then the words of God didn't help them. How are you going to help? You see, all these thoughts, all these connections that are going from one thought to the other, which if you look at the Quran, it literally is like a train of thoughts, because it could be discussing one topic, it could be discussing the main topic, and then God shows you that there is something that's connected here. He talks about it for a few verses or mentions one thing, and then he goes back to the topic. He moves to something very quickly and goes back. It's exactly how the human brain thinks. It's like, well, I was in the kitchen and I was preparing a meal and I turned on the water. I changed the water faucet yesterday because it was leaking. And as I was doing my meal, I put the bowl and I put the water in the bowl and I started to cook the bowl. And it's very important to feed people. So as I was cooking, I wanted to put aside for the people that need to be fed. So you see, like a human's brain can go to sidetracks very easily just to think to say that important point to ourselves. The Quran works in a very similar way. So as I told a lot of my close friends, the Quran is truly to me a book of psychiatry. It is telling you the human brain and how the human works and how the human can reach certain levels if they practice it long enough. You practice arrogance, you become arrogant. You practice lying, you become a liar. It becomes natural. It just becomes who you are. You practice remembering God, it becomes who you are. You practice the Quran, it becomes who you are. Now, when you do achieve certain levels, what ends up happening because of your remembrance of God, you start automatically, naturally, without you even trying, you demand respect just because of your presence in the room. People recognize that you're righteous and people listen to you. As God says that, there's a word that God says in the Quran in chapter 17, and say, God, put me into an honest door and let me exit in an honest door, and provide me from you a clear authority. I don't mean to, I don't like making things about myself, but when I am in situations where I see people in a fight, people literally having a fist fight, when I step in and I start to raise my voice and I say, hey, God doesn't like this kind of stuff, you guys quit it right now. Usually, most of the time, people just stop and they listen to me. I don't know why. It's such an amazing feeling, but it's also a responsibility. And when I am in situations where I see things, I just start to speak what God is revealing in the Quran. You transgress, don't transgress. It's okay. Forgive him. There's no need to fight. Is this how you want to treat your brother? Don't you know, can't you leave it to God? Are you going to take your revenge or God's going to take your revenge? See people go like, okay, this guy's a little too much. Let's just let it go. And peace achieved. I don't care. Now, I want you guys we are coming to the conclusion pretty much. And I believe I have the surah that I wanted to. So I want us to read chapter 38, if you are going to stand a prayer, Sad, right? Because the Quran contains the remembrance. The Quran is what you need to recall in the situations. There are many things that you could do in any situation. You see people yelling, you can get emotional and start yelling too. You see people yelling, oh, it's not my problem. You can just shy away and hide away. See, because these are all things that you're connecting to your mind. These are all things of an exit to what's happening. But God says that those that are striving and enjoining in good and reminding people in mercy and reminding people of righteousness, those are the people who are going to succeed. That's a law. That's a law that God has put in the religion of the human. So if you want to achieve those, you need to know exactly what the Quran has been saying. Yes, it's very easy for me to sit here and start reading the Quran and studying it. That's awesome. That is a very good way. But if you want to do that constantly in a disciplined fashion, you have your two and then your third prayer, your middle prayer. Those two prayers during sunrise and sunset, it is really an excellent time. Because if your day starts before you go to work, you spent an hour, hour and a half reading verses that you are going to see them in front of you for the rest of your day. And then after your work day is done, for the stereotypical people, you go home, you're praying, you're doing your prayer, and then you're seeing the verses of what just occurred. And you now have the way to defrag your brain, and you are now making the connections that are helpful, and you're also analyzing yourself. This is what is very important. God has brought down your remembrance so that you could see where you fit in the remembrance. So for you to make the changes that you make. So maybe people have certain ideas about me or say certain things about me, or maybe they don't see me in the same light that I see myself, but I always try to improve my brain, my relationship with God, and things that I can do better. I try to want to push myself more because it is at the edge of, I'm going to say this as at the edge of chaos, where your religion is being tested, is where you feel God the most. Okay, I am not pushing people to anything. I'm not, but at the edge of panic is where your religion truly shines. But at the edge of panic, if you reach there without practicing enough, you will fail. And when you fail, it hurts. Not whatever the outcome is or the situation is, it hurts because you realize your error, that if I did these steps earlier, which I knew I should have done, I wouldn't have been in this situation. Why didn't I do those steps in earlier? Because God did not guide me in that moment, in those specific moments. Why? Because I'm doing something that is showing disloyalty to God. I'm not being completely disloyal, but these small things didn't get me that extra 1%, 2% closer to where I should be, because every 0.001% to get closer to God matters. See what I'm saying? These are concepts when you really want to dive into the religion, to really look at the book and see how the book is an example for everything, and you have your mind pondering. People will come to you with their issues, and people will tell you what's going on. And you see that God blesses you with meeting these people, because they are truly a blessing when you realize how attached they are to God. But you are also there to help them if you are a person who really spent a lot of time in the Quran and with what God has been saying in his remembrance, because you give them that little thing that they're missing. But how can you give them that answer if you don't know the answer, if you know what I'm saying? So it's very nice to help people. But to help people, you need to help yourself first. And if you do not see yourself flourishing and succeeding, and you see yourself being impatient and like you want more from your life and you want to achieve more, but you're not content and you're not in a peaceful state of mind, that whatever's, even in the middle of a war, even if bombs are dropping next to you, even if you're getting arrested, whatever it is, if you're not capable of achieving that peace of mind without panic and without worry, and you can't get thoughts like, hey man, like, I might get in a lot of trouble. No, it's fine. I got God. Because you could sit there and be like, I'm going to get in trouble. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Help, 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 help. What should I do? What should I? But now you're going through stress. But if you say, okay, you know what? I might get in trouble, but I was trying to do good. And God says that the people who are trying to do good, God will not let their deeds go to waste. So I got a promise from God. I'll wait until God's judgment arrives, because God's judgment is better than what these people have to offer me. With that said, I am now coming to the end of our sermon. I am very tired, so I apologize if the words are not flowing the way that they should be flowing. But this is all by my permission, by the permission of my Lord, and what I can give in this specific time. I am cut back. I am lacking a lot of sleep, but we are at a new chapter in what MFG is trying to achieve. And inshallah, we can reach positive conclusions for our community. Let me just say that. Honestly, I do want to just take a very small moment. And there are things where in life you can wish for something your whole life, and you get to a point where you just don't think it's going to come. And as soon as you truly give it up, as truly as the moment you think it's not even possible, God makes it happen in a way where it's just like witnessing it and seeing that it exists, or that it's a possibility. It just humbles you. God knows how to reward you with not even, like, how can I say it, with just meeting somebody as a reward, without even gaining anything, without taking anything from anybody. It's just God really knows how to treat you in a way that is amazing. And judge people for who they truly are, not for what they tell you, not what they show you, but judge them as like you're a child. Remember when you were a kid, as innocent you are, and the person in front of you, if they're still capable of showing you that innocence, that how when people are playing around, they're 12, 14, or like 8 or 9, if they still have that child inside them, those people to me are extremely good people. Like, despite how hard and how painful their life could have been, they never let go of their innocence. They never let go of their purity. If you meet somebody like that, you never let them go. I'm telling you, because those people would be a benefit to you your whole life. Because even if you did end up hurting them, they still would stick by your side because of how dedicated they are, not to you, but to keep the peace. So, with that said, I appreciate everyone who tuned in. We are reading after the sermon, chapter 38, right? If whoever wants to stand on a prayer, I am going to be taking questions now. So I will go back up to the stream and let's see. And hey, guys, I really love you guys. Like, I have to deal with a lot of people during the day. I'm always going around, but like the believers, they're much different, and it's always fun to hang around with believers because it's like you feel like you're not being judged, and the ones who are judging you just because they like human judgment, they just look so weak to you. They look so weird to you. Anyways, all right, brother, I seen you. I'm gonna try to say your name. Giostana. Giostana, Brother Muhammad. Yes. Peace, brother. Inshallah, we'll see this Monday. I missed this sermon because of work. I apologize. You did ask me a question about hadith. Let me see this. Book 1, hadith 348. Book 1, hadith 348. Pum, 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 pum. Pum, 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 pum. I just saw 2 words of it. I don't know. This is not it, but this is very funny. This is not the verse this is not the hadith that you wanted me to say, but this one came up and I want to share this one with people. Like, look at this ridiculousness. This is by Abu Huraira. And this is Hassan. It's like, hey, it's okay. It's not sahih, but it's okay. The Messenger of Allah said, most of the torment of the grave is because of urine. Most of the torment of the grave is because of urine, as they put fertilizer on top of you to grow some flowers. What, like, did you pee on yourself so you're gonna get tormented in your grave? Most of the torment of the grave is because of urine. Guys, stop peeing. Okay, let's try finding Sahih Muslim. Guys, stop peeing. Hadith, wisdom. Astaghfirullah. Such disgusting. Like, we laugh, but to them that's religion. What I just said to him right there, or what I said there, is religion. I don't know how that's religion, but hey, that's why you get tortured. That's why Pharaoh is tortured in his grave right now, because of urine. People weirdos, man. Excuse me. Is this right? 348. No, it's not the same hadith. Because no, it is. This is in reference. Oh, okay. No, so this is not true. But people, I can see why people will say this, but I don't know if the Prophet would say this, obviously. But okay, so God says, God says there is no deity except Him. Alhamdulillah. That's what God said. But there is a narration here in Sahih Muslim, Book 1, Hadith 348. Let's see if I can make it bigger for y'all. I asked the Messenger of Allah, did you see thy Lord? He said, He is light. How could I see Him? Now, there's a problem here on two folds. Okay? One, right? They're saying that the Prophet saw God's light, which is not a possibility. Not a possibility. Because the whole earth will crumble next to the Prophet, and the Prophet will not be capable of seeing God while he's on earth. That's for sure. You cannot see. This is the biggest test, which is very clear. Anyone who understands the message and what God is saying, it is not a possibility in this realm, in this world, to see a face of God or to see God in any visual sense. Not going to happen. Okay? Because as soon as you do that, you are going to be able to conquer this world very quickly. So it's not a possibility. You would have so much faith and certainty, like above any other prophet. You would be able to talk to God directly without any doubts, because us, when we're talking to God, we're not. It's okay. God is answering you based upon the honesty and the truth that's coming out of your dua. So the more honest in your dua, the more answers you're going to get from God. But if you're just like, oh yeah, may God help my parents, that's not a dua. You're just lip service, right? If someone is really exalting God, like, God, you're the greatest. You have all these rocks, you have all these stars, you have all these people, all these humans. You don't need any of it. You created it. You're amazing. You showed us so much love. You've given us everything that we have, and people exalted as you. Exalted are you above what people attribute to you. You're so kind, and you're so amazing, and you're so understanding. You know exactly why people made their decisions, and you know exactly what's driving them. Nothing goes outside of your scope of knowledge, nor does it go outside your scope of programming. But dear Lord, if you want to intervene, you intervene whenever you know is fit. But God, please help those individuals that are stuck in the rubble now because of other people's oppression. And God, please show mercy upon my parents, because of their grandparents, my grandparents, and their parents were not capable of understanding the message. And show them mercy as they raised me. And all praise to you, the Lord, the greatest, the merciful, the amazing. See, so now that's someone giving a dua to God. But to say, oh God, God, forgive my parents. Not the same. But you see, now when I'm trying to, because you do it in fear. As you're doing the dua, there is fear because you don't want to say the wrong word and diminish from God's greatness, which you won't. But with your words, you would self-oppress if you did. So you have to be careful. But then there's also du'as that you cannot say, because it's either like teaching God, or at the same time, God told you cannot ask for it. So you have to be very careful with your word choice, and you have to be very honest. Now, when you say it from heart, there's going to be an answer, because God said, call me and I will answer. Now, if you saw God You could put that visual, you know how like you could like visualize your car if you have a car. Visualize your fridge there. Visualize the last TV you saw. Visualize the Quran that you read from. Visualize your computer. Visualize me. Visualize your parents. You can, you see? That is something that is closer to what the truth is. Imagine if you could do that about God and then do your dua. You would conquer the world. You're showing so much truth. So no, there's not possibility for the prophet to even see the light of God. Okay? One. Let's do that. Let's bring this mark. Hey, dude. There it is. And then he's saying that he is a light. Yeah, I understand where people say that it is not possible for you to see God. It isn't. It's not going to be possible for you to see God in his truest essence. And it's not possible for you to hear God in his truest essence. It's not possible. It's not something that the human can, it's not, you need to be God to understand that. So you can't perceive it. You can't understand it. God is at in every time, at all times. Okay? So a moment just passed, but he's still there. I'm not. That my history is gone. I'm just going through the axis of history, axis of time. But he is still there as he's at the end. Okay? So, but he can move here and maneuver something here while he's not maneuvering it there because history. It's very trippy to think about mathematically and a way to program it. The human cannot understand it. But Moses heard a voice, which was the voice of God. God talked to him directly. But God, he made a sound that the human can understand it, the human can perceive it, and he made it the scariest, most dominant, most strongest sound that nothing else can compare to it. It is the sound that God has allowed it to be connected to him. So there's many books in the world, but there is no book like the Quran because the Quran is the book from God. It will dominate all other books. It will crush all other books and nothing will ever compete to it. God did it. If God's going to do something within the rules of whatever the art is, God will dominate, right? So when it comes down to the concept of hearing a voice, God has chosen a voice, a sound, that when it's heard, the individual will recognize that it's their Lord, and nothing else can hijack that voice. Okay, that's for Moses. But is that God's actual 100% genuine voice? No, it's the voice that he allowed us to hear. But that could be true for a visual. See what I'm saying? God can bring a visual that we're capable of understanding that this entity that we're seeing is 100% from our God, and it is our God, but it's not how God looks. But that's how God wants us to see him. And nothing will ever compare, and it will be the most scariest, most significant, most amazing thing to witness. And yes, it will be glowing with light. It will be whatever God wants to show at that moment. And the thing, okay, this is the weirdest part. This is really weird. Okay, I can't get into much detail, but I do think a lot about God. So God can come to you as you. So you see your face, because technically you are being guided with God by God, but you're hearing your own voice. You're using your own eyes. You're using your own ears, and God is taking it over as you're an agent, right? But on the day of judgment, you could be facing yourself, but an entity that is just, that beats you at everything, right? So this is where you could have been if you had no blemishes, no impurities, truthfully at your full stance, and then you're facing yourself. That would be, to me, a little bit scary and weird, but these are just concepts of subjective understanding of what the hereafter is. Are we going to see the simple answer? Are we going to see God in his truest form? No. Did God talk about seeing a face? He did. Could that mean something that is physically visible, like we can visualize it? Possibly. It is a valid interpretation. Is it going to happen? We have to wait on that day. But for me, I know for a fact that God is going to give me something visually that becomes the benchmark that I'm going to say, this is our Lord. And we're going to all be in agreement to this visual experience that we're going to see, whether it's light, whether it's a shape, whatever it is. It's going to be amazing. I got to prostrate. Awesome. Okay. So I hope that answered your question. I went into a whole. One second. All right, cool. I personally didn't like discussing. Read the Quran. It's very easy to understand. Yep, that's all right. Oh no, the Alawites. Oh, bro, that's nothing. You know, you're full of wisdom. Thank you, Brother Adam. Do you think I should try reading the Quran? Yes, to gain knowledge, or should I contact you, ask you questions because I don't. You have good Arabic. I'm a 15-year-old girl from Algeria, but my Arabic is weak. Look, you can see the resources that's available to you. You can try to keep reading the Arabic until you improve yourself. At your age, you have a lot still of time, as if God gives it to you, but you're at an age where you could learn very quickly. You said you're a 15-year-old girl. At 15-year-old, you can learn Arabic in 2 years, as much as it would, like whatever Arabic you would learn in 2 years, it would take me at my age around, let's assume that I'm around halfway through 30, it would take me about 5 to 6 years to try to achieve what you could achieve in the time that you did. A child would need less time than you if they're being very focused, if God gives them the focus. So don't give up, and you're still fresh on the road. When it's really going to matter, when you're really going to start seeing your religion manifest in front of you, is going to be closer between the age of 19 to 23 and 24. Between 19 to 23, 24, and God knows the number for you, you're going to be given an opportunity to see the truth, and whether you take it or not, so that on the day of judgment, you can't. No, everyone had this. Everyone had this around the same age, where they either choose to be closed off or they choose to have a worldview, and then they start to build upon it until they're 40. But Mushriks, bro. There's no even Islam there. There's Alawites think Ali is gone. So even Shias don't consider them proper, bro. Brother, how do you prove to a non-Muslim that the Holy Quran is from God? By the context. So for me, the Quran is defining to you the concept of God. From my perspective, I like to understand things programmatically. I like to understand things through Boolean logic, which is a form of logic. It's a form of reason that is very mathematical based, where you deduce answers. And the answers have to be consistent for it to keep running how it's supposed to keep running. It's almost very two-dimensional in approaching matters, very binary. And the Quran is expressed to you extremely binary. Things are in pairs: believer, disbeliever, gratitude, ingratitude, death and life, young and old, female and male, right? Now, with that said, God as well himself has names, attributes that he talked about himself. So, for example, he's the merciful. Okay, so I'm taking an entity and I'm making it the most merciful. Okay, but then there's an opposite to it, because there has to be an opposite in the world that I understand. It's a polar world. That opposite would be unforgiving, right? Or punisher. Is my God a punisher at certain times, but his default position is what? Forgiving and mercy, right? But God also created the other side of punishment. But God chose the side that he wants to be on. So why is there punishment in the world? Because there has to be mercy. See what I'm saying? Why? Okay, why are people humiliated and made to seem so small? Well, God is the biggest. Allahul Akbar. Al-Akbar, right? Al-Kabir. He's the biggest. He's the most dominant, right? And what did the people say to Joseph when they wanted to put him in jail? One second. Yeah, they said that I'm going to put you in jail and make you small. So God's attribute is he's the biggest, and therefore there has to be things that are small. Is God small? No. But God had to create, not had to. God created the concept of people being small or diminished or weak is just because he's the strongest. So these concepts you can deduce from the Quran. And then now you're introduced to truly what infinity is. Why? Because you live forever. God has no start and no end. You have a start, you have death, and then you have no end. Okay, these are concepts now. When you come to computer programming, it is difficult to program. Why? Because you quickly start to see the axis is go to infinity, whatever the axis that you're going to put, space. Okay, so the concept of space is infinite. It has to be infinite. Why? Because God is infinite, and God has infinite space within Him, and yet that space does not exist until He says that it exists. But since God always existed, and God has many realities that He could create if He wanted to create, He can manifest them. Therefore, He has encompassed all accesses, which is all of the space. And then same thing with time. Since time doesn't exist technically, as God has always existed, then God is infinite in both ways. So for a human brain, these are so vast to understand, but God is actually fulfilling that in the Quran. If you just the bare knowledge that we understand on how infinity can be computed in the mind, God fulfills it. And the Quran shows that. Aside from that, God is talking about the way that the human thinks. Deaf, dumb, and blind if they don't consider the truth. I see it. Yep, I see people being deaf, dumb, and blind. I'm arguing with somebody, he can't even hear me. If I say, hey, bro, what did I just say to you? This is what you said. I said none of that. I can hear you, but you can't hear me. Why? Because the Quran is the truth. So there are many ways, but brother, it's based upon the person of what you see him saying and what you see him doing for you to give the answers. So I apologize, guys. When I'm tired, I might over speak. Let me see. One second. Peace, brother. People are awesome. Okay. This helps me to focus. Oh, you reminded me of something. That we don't know His image while in this life. Helps me because I think of a thing, of an image. I know that thing is not God. Exactly. That's actually that's very smart of what you said. Okay. I'm going to show you something. Okay. This, I helped my brother Musa, and this is how you get in the zone, by the way. This is how you guys have the opportunity where the light is shining on me and me having to speak. You guys don't watch me interact most of the time, because when I'm interacting in the world, I'm actually not, if I'm with my friends, obviously when I'm by myself, I try to stay extremely quiet. Only when there is something that really needs to be said, I will say it, because I know that it needs to be said. If then now we're having like a friendship or a bond with somebody that's going there, I will speak often just so that I could keep trying to maneuver the person into a way to believing into God or to improve his relationship with God, because I'll keep it's very weird. But what I wanted to say is there's times I need to get into the zone. Okay. To get into the zone, there's something where God says in chapter 50, Qaf. I'm going to pull the verse up so we can read it together, because this verse, if the way that I apply it, guys, it is pretty cool. One second. Qaf. Chapter 50, there is a 50 Qaf. Okay, right? So, share this tab, go to my little StreamYard, add it. Okay, so the verse is in chapter 50. We haven't reached the verse, but let's read it together. So be patient over what they say, and glorify with praise your Lord before the rising of the sun and before the setting. That's obviously not a ritual. And of the night, let's glorify him after the prostration. Okay? And here, okay, so God is talking about right now. It's not talking about the day of judgment. It's talking about right now, okay? So glorify him before the rising of the sun, before the setting, right? And then God says, and of the night, glorify him after the prostration, and listen, right? And listen for what? The day. The caller will call from a nearby location, okay? The day they will hear the blowing truth, that is the day of emergence. So we're talking about now, the day the horn is blown, okay? The caller is calling. So what do we do? Why is this verse to me extremely significant? Guys, let's imagine that in your room, behind me there's a bell, okay? And we're anticipating the bell to ring, okay? So there's a bell there, and we know the sound of the bell, or we can presume the sound of the bell, like, right? We can assume it, and now let's anticipate it, that it's about to ring. It really brings you in the zone very quickly. Like you recognizing the day of judgment. Now, instead of the bell, it's the trumpet, it's the horn, it's the caller, it's God's hour. Okay? Anticipate it right now. Let's wait for it to be cold. And you go by your day to day. But yeah, you just keep your eye open, or you keep your ear open, waiting, anticipating for it to just blow. So that, to me, brings me in the zone very quickly, which this is what you reminded me of. And this is another, to answer the person here, what is a good perception exercise? This is one of them. God told you to listen. Listen to the caller. Wait for the caller. Okay, now I'm listening. Let's see when he calls. God says it can happen anymore. Do you believe, or is this just a joke to you? Do you think I'm being funny now? Do you not believe that the day of judgment is coming? Okay, then listen. It's going to come. Even in your grave, you're going to hear it, but you have to stay prepared, right? You're going to hear it. So now if I'm always practicing waiting for the caller, and I'm going through my day, I can hear this person, what he said. I can hear myself. I know my thoughts, but I'm listening and I'm waiting for it at any moment. Guess what I'm doing all day? Remembering the day of judgment. So when somebody's talking to me, I'm remembering the day of judgment. I'm waiting for the caller, right? And he says something, I'm remembering the day of judgment. I'm going to treat him right. Like I'm having a remembrance. So this is one perception exercise. But sorry, guys, I might be speaking too much. Right, the hour comes unexpectedly, as my good brother said here. So it's like, it is unexpected. You don't know when it comes, but you have to assume it. That is an assumption you're allowed to have. That's a correct assumption. You don't know when it is, but it's coming. This is an assumption. So you have to anticipate it. Let's wait it. It's coming. Let's listen. As God says, listen. SubhanAllah. I had a dream. The hour happened in a Chipotle looking place. You were hungry. God knows, bro. I don't know. I like reading those books when I was younger, by the way. Goosebumps. Exactly. No Imam Mahdi. Okay, unknown. Let me see. Unknown. Quran Shire. If that's the case, why would God tell us to observe the Salah at certain parts of the day? What's the issue? God bless you all. God bless you too. Salah is not a robotic sequence of movements and expression. Okay, there is no robotic sequence. No one's telling you that there's a specified sequence. There's maneuvers, but there's no sequence. Whenever a religion becomes structured and you're saying that structure is the religion, you fail. That's not a religion at that point. That's structure. And you're saying that God wants a structure, a specific structure from you? No. God gave you guidance, the way that you apply the guidance. But do you not stand and read the Quran? Well, then you're failing, because God literally stand obediently in your prayer. Do you not prostrate to your Lord? Or is prostrate just something that is not physical? Well, then God says in the book, those that hear the words and follow the best of it. Okay? So I understand sujood can mean someone who is subservient. I understand how sujood makes someone subservient spiritually. But sujood also means to prostrate physically. So what I do is more than you. I physically prostrate, right? So I am doing the physical part, and I am being subservient to God. So I'm also spiritually doing sujood, prostrating. Okay? So who's following the word better? Me or you? Because me and you are doing the same things, but I'm doing something a little extra that also fits the interpretation of the Quran. So I believe, right, I'm doing it a little bit better. Peace, brother. Rayken. Brother Muhammad, I don't think Allah has a physical body, and I don't think he is in time either, because he created space and time. Allah is uncreated. So it's not correct to say that. I'm not saying that the concept of what we understand is space. I said God is infinite. I'm not saying that he has a physical body. This is where you guys are taking me into things that I think about, but it's very extremely, there's the realm of God. The realm of God does not have these concepts that we have. The realm of God is not something that we can understand except for what he has told us. It is never ending. It has no start. It has no end. And he is the dominant in that realm at all times. Cannot be broken, cannot be understood. So, but one thing is, it has to be infinite. So what we consider a space, there might be not, like now you're taking me into, these are a little bit weird, man. These questions are amazing, but I don't think about them as in a way to like try to get into, no, I think about them so I can connect to there's a lot of space between us and God in the space that's above us. And this is just the first sky. Now there's 7 skies. The more you recognize, the more you're capable of seeing the world, the more you're capable of maneuvering in God's name. God says that he gives the mulk to whom he wills, and he removes the milk from whom he wills, and he is the Malik, right? He's the Malik. Now, the mulk, of course, can be the kingship, right? The dominion, the physical. But God can also give you control over, God can give you power. To me, power has always been the capability of maneuvering with your words. God says something, it happens. He's not physically doing anything. He just says it and it happens, right? That's ultimate power. Now, that's the most powerful entity ever. To say something and it manifests, that's amazing. But power for a human being, if I pick up the phone and I say, hey, I want 100,000 soldiers on the western border, and there's 100,000 soldiers by the end of the day on the western border, I'm a powerful man. I maneuvered people, I maneuvered resources by my voice. I didn't go maneuver, I didn't make them, I didn't walk them, I didn't do it. I just said it and it was done. That's power. Now, God can give that power to people in the world. But for you to be worthy, you have to understand the biggest picture. Not just what the society's pressure, not what the society is teaching you, not certain education that you want to take. It is understanding your purpose and the sheer size of it, and you becoming significant for God, not for you, for God. Guys, you're making me like go, I'm too tired for this. This is amazing though. 90-6, why God addressing believer men and women? But when he talks about the situation of contacting women, he's addressing men. What's your thought on that? Because there is certain things as gender roles. So there's certain things about men that men can do where women can't do. And there's certain things that women are allowed to do that men cannot do. I'm going to say this very bluntly. A man has to learn how to nurture his emotions from females. While a female, this is very stereotypical, I apologize, but this is what I understand. And a female has to nurture the self-control of her emotions from a man. So it becomes an amazing gift where a man starts to recognize that, hey, my wife is becoming emotional about something. This is something important. I have to hear it. It's not about whether she's right or wrong. That emotion, if she's somebody who's very pious, who loves God a lot, that emotion is important. You're talking to someone who is very pious in your eyes, someone who loves God, who talks about God, and then they mention something and then they start to cry. You yourself, bro, I wouldn't cry in this moment. Why is someone crying? This is not something to cry about. But they started to cry. That crying is God programmed them to cry in that moment, in that empathy. Me, I don't have that programming. I have empathy, but I don't have that where it's like it hurts and to a point where I have to cry. Correct? So, this is something that I need to recognize, that the female side is showing me that there is something that God has programmed her to cry in that moment. So I have to be capable of understanding why she cried, and so that others don't make women cry. I won't cry, but now I recognize what made her cry. And at the same time, you learn about the things that matter to a woman. So us, I mean, like me generally, and my male friends, we don't Like we don't pay attention to certain details because we don't see it in a certain way. If someone did something or didn't do something or helped me with something, we just like grunts, like, all right, well, I'm gonna get it done. Just a bunch of monkeys, let's just get it done, right? But girls have a different thing. It's like when you do something for them or you give something to them in a way, they analyze it much differently than you. So you start now understanding how you nurture women, which you don't get nurtured that way. But obviously, then they see things about us and they nurture us in ways like, wow, I didn't know I like that. Like man is like, well, I didn't know I like that. Like, thank you for doing that. See, so it's like, but God knowing this, he talks to men differently, and he's telling the men how to talk to women. And very rarely does he actually address women. Very, 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 very rarely in the Quran. It's to a point where God is telling the men to tell the women something. Hey, oh prophet, tell your wives, right? Oh prophet, tell your wives. God's not saying, oh, wives of the prophet, but there are times where God is addressing women, right? And there's times where God is addressing both men and women, and he's making it very clear. But the majority of the Quran, he's talking to men. Why? I believe because men have a bigger responsibility than women in the eyes of God in taking care of the world. Okay, not in regards to like better or worse and all. No, there's a bigger responsibility on the man than it is on a woman. So on the day of judgment, I truly believe that a woman's judgment on the day of judgment is technically easier than a man. A man has a harsher judgment or like a harsher trial. Why? Because he has been given a bigger responsibility, and the women, unfortunately, have been oppressed by this physical difference. That's all I'm going to say. I can understand all these people might see it differently. That's my approach. I apologize. Ayat, great advice. I literally had to do the exact same thing and go line by line and check if I'm meaning those things. Ayat, there it is. Just read the Quran, check if you are doing what Allah loves or forbids. Exactly. At each ayah, check yourself. Start with Surah 23 example. Also, the verse 15 of, yeah, it truly is that. Like, you knocked it right on the heart. Okay, I'm going to go back down. Oh, man, I'm sorry. I'm missing a lot of room. Okay. Yes. Men have the position of leadership, but when a woman steps up, it becomes an incredible sight. It's weird. Like, you have the Queen of Sheba. There is something when a woman is leading, it's a different type of leadership than when a man is leading, right? Because a woman tends to have to be a little bit more, okay, from my experience, really powerful women that I had to deal with, they're very blunt and they're very hard-headed. That if I did that as a man, I cannot be a leader because people will be like, you're a little too mean, bro. But for her, she has to be because of just the natural position that she's sitting in. But yeah, they have the capability of doing whatever God allows them to do. There's like you have the Queen of Sheba. She's a queen. She is the queen. People used to like it. Oh, did I miss something? No, we're good. The Quran is teaching you that there is a hierarchy, right? God is the highest of the hierarchy, but that does not mean that he is your only hierarchy. Yes, there's the prophet, there's the messengers, but then there's the people of authority, and then there's your parents, and then there's your husband, and then there's your older brother, and it depends. There's a lot of depends, but when you recognize the hierarchy, you have to believe it. Guys, very simple question to a lot of people. Do you truly believe that the prophet is better than you? Like in your head, do you admit? Do you really admit that his character, his personality, his worldview, his way of approaching things, his way of approaching matter, if you were there, you might not, it's better than yours. And can you give that? Okay, can you give that to a human being that's alive now? Do you really, how many people can sit there and say, you know what? In this specific thing, this man is much better than me. In this specific thing, this girl is much better than me. Like having the ability to admit that is something that's very important. So cool. All right, guys, now we hit the 1 hour mark. I'm gonna take a few little bit more questions. I think my comment never reached Brother Muhammad. I think my comments never reached Brother Muhammad. think it just did. Sure, bro. Let me see. Sorry, I meant to this dude. Sure, bro. The ham can also be. Sorry? I'm trying to find your question, your original question, but we will hear it in our graves the day it happens, right? Yeah, yes. You should anticipate it when you're alive, as God says, to listen, because it's a good reminder. But in your grave, you're also going to hear it. So if you're always listening for it, when it comes, you knew it came. It's not as much of a shock, yet it's still unexpected. It's amazing. You're creeping me out, bro. I'm a wolf. All right, guys. Is heaven and hell tempered? No, no, bro. No, that is a mutashabihat. This is literally the ambiguous verse. These two verses are ambiguous verses. But if you look at the grand scheme of things, it's completely true. Why? Because God does what he wants. You are going to be in hell forever. You're going to be in heaven forever as long as the skies and the land are ongoing. And God does what he wants. So it's a test to say, well, you know what? God can just all of a sudden become a liar and he removes us all and we all disappear. And then how would we be able to know? Yeah, and then you're thinking that you're having a negative assumption about God. You allow the doubt to take your mind over, and you became worthless in that moment. You failed yourself. Just because God put it in a way for you to understand it that way does not mean that that's the reality. It's a test. It's an ambiguous verse. And then people will say, well, no, this verse is proving that people will be in hell, and then God can remove them, because it says that they're in hell as long as the skies and the land is existing, and except what God wills. So God can remove them. Okay, but then there's the verse next to it where God will remove people from heaven, and then they go to hell. No, it's not a possibility. Okay, so your interpretation is fake. Your interpretation is false. And if you have a disease in your heart, you would go follow that interpretation, because God says that these ambiguous verses are for the people with their hearts, disease in their hearts. They come up with their own interpretations and they follow it. And then the other interpretation that we had, oh, well, God can just make all of us disappear in heaven and then we're not there forever. How would we, who's going to stand, who's going to take God for his word at that point? So you had an interpretation where you think God could be a liar and you're running with it. That's a disease in your heart. We're proving 3-7, ladies and gentlemen. I'm doing that. 1 second. Sorry, there's something I wanted to do. There it is. Peace is there. Okay, back to it. In heaven, no, may God reward you answering. Thank you, guys. I love you. May Allah put barakah in your sleep, bro. Thank you. I really need to sleep. Hell is in some circuit. No. Hell is never temporary. Hell is never temporary. No, that's a lie. That is a lie. If you entered hell, if you stepped into hell, there's no exit. That's it. You're done. You're forgotten. You're going to stay there forever. Even if you're in the highest, the least amount of pain possible, which is a lot of excruciating pain. If you're just in the first little lick of hell, which is not where you want to be in, you're in it forever. God says, they're in it forever. There is no leaving hell. Anyone who's telling you that they go burn for a little bit and leave, this is not true. The best thing that could happen to you if you are going to hell is you now recognize you are a terrible man. You recognize that you made the wrong decisions. You're looking at the gate of hell. That's it. You've admitted that you are a terrible person. You did some good in your life, and God intercedes. So you never go into hell. You just accepted your judgment, and God goes, well, you know what? Intercession. So you still go to heaven. But you understood that you were worthy of hell, but I interceded on your behalf because of certain things. So there is the concept of intercession. But whoever is going to get into intercession, it's before they enter hell, not after. There is no, I'm using a Sunni Quran. Excuse me? Sunnis wrote the Quran? What? No, actually, the Quran I use is not by the Sunnis. Imagine saying the Quran is from Sunnis, or the Sunnis are the ones who wrote the Quran. The amount of weird things people say without even considering what they say, just so that they could give their credences. Like, you know what I like to do when I read the verses about, like, okay, so they say the Quran is the book of Allah, right? They keep saying obey God means obey the Quran. That's the book of Allah. And then God talks about how people worship multiple gods. Okay, so God's book is the Quran, right? And then every time I get the concept of polytheism in the Quran, people worshiping many gods, I just in my head replace books. Like they these are their gods. These are their other judgments and calls and what they think reality is and what was said when that's their stuff. And they have so many of them and they love them and they really don't like the book of God. Like they genuinely dislike the book of God. You are like a terrible human being, misguided, lost, no authority. You are not allowed to quote the book of God to anybody. Who are you? Even if you're a sheikh sitting in the house, no, you cannot quote the book of God other than if it's about the prophet. You see what I'm saying? If it's a verse talking about the like, okay, we're talking about Badr and the Battle of Badr, and now I can use the Quran as a history book. But between me and you, right? No, I can't say, aren't you like suffice that God is going to give us angels in the battlefield? No, bro, that verse came down because they were in a battle, and the battle, they were not many people, and then God sent angel and he helped the people. And that is why that verse came down. You don't make interpretation on your own. Who are you? Who are you? Huh? Like, bro, shut up. Like, man. See? Othman's Quran. No, I use God's Quran. People are weird, bro. He must be talking about translations. Yeah, he is talking about. No, he's actually talking about the actual like lines, like the actual written. Like the Prophet wrote it by his hands. The Prophet's a Sunni. Like, the Prophet is the first Sunni, right? He's not the first Quranist, as you guys call us. He didn't judge with the Quran. He had Bukhari. He had 7,000 hadiths in his head. Oh man, you guys are so easy. You know what? If you want me to follow Bukhari or not Bukhari, if you want me to follow Sahih Hadith, tell me how many Sahih Hadith. I can tell you how many verses there are in the Quran. I can show you all the verses. There's nothing extra. There's nothing missing. It's all there. Now tell me, Yalla, bring me the collection of Hadith, which you guys all say that these are Sahih. Do we have contention with the Quran? We don't. Very simple. The Quran is very clear. It's right there in front of you. There's no, this verse exists, this verse doesn't exist, this verse is Hassan, this verse is Ta'if, none of that garbage that you guys say that these are the same people that gave you the Quran. That doesn't exist in the Quran. Now, give me one book that has where all the hadith you guys all agree on. It has to be from God at that point. Good luck. I want to say something. I can't say. خلاص يا بنت. سلام على زيد. حبيبي. I'm back in Syria, eh? You just rearranged it. You didn't compile it. Bingo. Right. I got 99 problems and following God lies isn't one. I like that one. I got 99 problems and a sheep didn't ate one. like you guys have a hadith saying the sheep ate your Quran. So please, bro. What about 5? Let's do this. Let's have fun. Let's do this one. Chapter 5 is 1. Chapter 1 is 96. Oh, you're talking about the order of chronology. Like that's what the Quran was sent for. Ladies and gentlemen. Are you kidding? He's using the Quran, which is available today. Oh no, it's authored by the Sunnis. If the Sunni sect did not exist, Quran would not be preserved. Well, they've successfully, the Sunnis, in their methodology and their science and isnad, they have preserved the book, the Quran, in a way that is never seen in history. But they could not repeat the process for any other book. We preserved it. No, you didn't. You did not. Oh man. There you go. Cool. All right. Nice, bro. What's in your Baathism? Baathism. Wait, Baathism or Baathism? I think I know what you're talking about, the religion, right? Baathism. What was that religion that starts Bahia? I think that's Bahaism. I think I got it wrong. I think you're talking about Bahaya faith. Yeah, no, you're not. You're talking about Baathism. Just, are you talking about the Pan-Arabic movement that's in the Middle East? Pan-Arabia? Is that what you're talking about? Are you talking about the movement that shares the exact same flag? Okay, yes. Okay, guys, I want to teach you something. I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. I want to tell you something. I believe I said this on my streams, but let me show you something, okay? Let me tell you about why the Zionists hate the Palestinian flag. It's not because of Palestinian identity. It's actually something very different. I am going to show you something. So this is Palestine flag. Share this tab. We've all seen it countless of times, right? The Palestinian flag is right here, okay? So this is the Palestinian flag. We've seen it so many times. So let's look at it together. There's black, there's red, there's white, there's green, right? Now I want to show you something. And this is going to make you wonder, okay? So we have, one second. Okay, we have this thing called, are you guys seeing this? I think you are, right? Yes, there it is. Ba'ath Party, okay? This is the Arab Socialist Party, okay? This has been around, technically, at the same time the Zionist regime came in play. So we have the Ba'ath Party, and we have what? The Palestinian flag. We've both seen it, okay? So now let's look at what this Ba'ath Party's flag is. It's right here. Does it look familiar? Does it look familiar, kids? Have we seen this flag somewhere else? Oh, let me give you a reference. Let's go back to the Palestinian flag. It's right there. That is the Palestinian flag. So I want to tell you something about the Ba'ath Party, which the Palestinian flag. That's why I don't put the Palestinian flags and I don't raise flags and all this nonsense. I want to tell you something about these people. Okay. So I think I'm sharing the screen. No, I'm not. Okay. I am. Okay. Guys, stance on religion for the Ba'ath Party. Militant secularism was emphasized in the Declaration of Principles manifesto published by the Ba'ath Party in 1960. Okay. 1960, which declared the party's educational policy was to build a new generations of Arab that believe in unity of the nation and the entirety of its mission. The manifesto also stated that, yet a help, vast generations would be committed to scientific thought freed from the shackles of superstition and backwards customs and replace religion with Arab nationalism as their belief system. Do you guys understand what you just wrote or what you read? Do you guys understand what you read? This is what Palestine originally was representing when the Zionists came. A secularized Arab party that is Pan-Arabia, which would cover Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Iraq, Palestine, and Egypt. One big Pan-Arabia that was secularized. No religion. The religion is the love of nation, the love of being Arab. But you had an enemy. Who's the enemy? The Jewish supremacy. That the Jewish mind, not religion, they did have religion tropes where they need to build the land for the Messiah, but the Jew himself tells you who is your enemy. He'll say the Arab. Why? Because I have the Zionist party about Jewish supremacy in the Middle East. And there's the Ba'ath Party, which is about Arab supremacy in the Middle East. I am going to conquer my enemy. Only recently, in the last 30 years, when a certain faction came in play, who? Iran. When the Persians came, it is no longer Pan-Arabia. Why? Because they're not Arabs. But they had a different thing. I need the Aqsa. Why? because it's about my Mahdi. I need the Aqsa so that I can fulfill what I believe is prophecy. So they became now religion versus religion instead of secularism versus secularism. Where is God going to be? Is God going to become between the secularism? No. God is going to come between the religion versus religion. Who's closer to the truth? Is it Shia form of Islam, or is it Zionist form of whatever Satanism, pretty much? No, God will obviously support with whatever truth that is being said from the Shias. Why? Because you could see it's a victory. You could see every time the Zionists fought the Pan-Arabists, they lost. The Pan-Arabists lost. They got destroyed, humiliated by a small group that had a religious purpose. But when the religious people that were talking about the book of God to a certain degree, they started to win. Hezbollah won in 2006. They're winning right now. Hamas is kicking some serious major butt. They're being a very contender against this very sophisticated militant operation. So my view of the Ba'ath Party is not a healthy view because they're not about religion. They hate religion. They want to remove religion. They made it so that you see your leader's picture everywhere, so you worship your leader because that gives you that unity, that Arabification that they want. Obviously, Beirut left this. Lebanon left this a while ago. Egypt left this a while ago. Jordan left this technically a while ago. And then you were left with Syria and Iraq. They used to be somewhat friends, and then they split. And then there was the Iraqi Baathism and then the Syrian Baathism, and they all talked about domination, but the Zionists kept splitting them up because that's their enemy. Welcome to what they don't want to show you. So all these people that keep wanting to put the Palestinian flag, oh no, because Israel hates it. Israel hates it not because of Palestine. It's because of Arab supremacy. That's what the flag represents to the Zionists. By the way, how you guys doing? How's that lesson for you? Man, I wish people knew the truth. But we're going to beat the Zionists. The Zionists is... Iraqis and Syrians are bros. Oh, I'm sorry. This is going to be a short. Rothschild hired us come back to change the Bible to say that if Christians do not support the Jews in the promised land, they will be damned to hell. Yes, that is the Zionist evangelicals, I believe, where they have to help the Jew. Schofield Bible. Sister, you're very well read. Okay. Give me a second. I do want to see someone. Yeah, check this out, by the way. JS was right about that. Well, yeah, from what she expressed. There's something that I needed to see. Say be and be it. Yeah, you're right. I agree that God is too great to be understood except for what he has told us. Alhamdulillah. That's very true, Rican. I thought I missed something. I did, but I just can't find it. All right. So Iran is mostly Shia. Yes. Iran's directive is Shia. All right, ladies and gentlemen. This brings us to a conclusion. And I am extremely tired. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Some people are just mean. All right, peace. What's my thoughts on Rashad Khalifa? What thoughts do you want me to say? Well, in regards to what? The Code 19, in regards to him being a messenger, in regards to the submitters group, what would you like me to Ask me one. Ask me anything. Are you still in Lebanon? No, I left yesterday. I am in Syria now. Brother Muhammad, what is the role of the Messiah? Okay, so the role of the Messiah is actually described in the books of the children of Israel, because the Messiah came. That's all you need as a Muslim, okay, as a believer. Sorry, not a Muslim. As a believer who follows the Quran, it is not imperative for you to know the role of the Messiah. What is imperative for you to know is that Jesus was the Messiah. So when the children of Israel are discussing the manner of Messiah and what the Messiah has to achieve and not achieve, the second you say that Jesus is a Messiah, that conversation should end. And if they come back and say, well, no, he can't be the Son of God, that's polytheism. If the Jews say that, then say, no, he's not the Son of God, and that's a lie. And that's all you need to do, because God says that the Quran, it tells the children of Israel much about what it tells the children of Israel much of what they used to differ in. One thing that they differ in is who the Messiah, not what the Messiah had to achieve. That's in their books, and then whatever Jesus achieved, he achieved it. Okay. Technically, in Messiah, he's been appointed. There's something that had to be smeared on him. Some people say that it was olive oil. I don't know. Okay. So he had to be smeared and anointed in a certain way that is a ritual that their king, the king of the children of Israel had, not the king of the Jews, the king of the children of Israel had to go through for him to be anointed. And one certain figure is going to fulfill the final prophecies that the children of Israel were promised. And part of that promises is the Messiah is going to lead the children of Israel back into the Holy Land. Okay. From what I understood, and I'm not a person that reads the Christian Bible often, nor do I read the Old Testament often. I don't read the New Testament often. I read parts of it that I like. It's pretty cool. I just realized that it looks like someone's looking at me right here. Anyway, so just from general concepts, that's what I understood. Now I understand how the Zionists view the Messiah. I understand now Trinitarian Christians, how they view the Messiahs, but it does not fit with the books. So the bottom line is, who's the Messiah? Jesus. What is he supposed to do? Well, Jesus already achieved what he needs to do. So whatever you think he's supposed to achieve, he achieved it, and what you're expecting isn't going to come. End of story. That's how I... That's not what I said, bro. So Muhammad, I have a question. Was Jerusalem for the Muslims or only the descendants of Jacob? I'm sorry if this sounds offensive or anything. I'm just curious. I'll just show you the verse. The verse is very easy. I love this verse. The Quran solves all these problems. Just have to remember which verse. Yeah. People are funny. Sorry, yeah, there's a verse I have to show. One second. People talk to me in a way that makes me laugh. You know, some people talk to you that you would never allow anyone, but then there's people like you appreciate when they talk to you like that. Cool. Let me see when there it is. Share this people. So this is chapter 21. Share this people. Share this verse. Sorry. This is the verse in question that I wanted to write. And we rescued him, Abraham, and Lot to the land. We rescued him and Lot to the land which we had blessed therein for all people. Understand? For all people. The land is for all people. Okay? We're talking about now the Holy Land is for all people. Very simple. Now, when it comes down to the temple of God, the one that is located in Jerusalem, Qudus, the Temple Mount, it has very significant value for the Jews and the Christians, for the Christians that understand that it has its value. Guys, I am going to be as honest as possible. I don't care what people, I don't take sides, Palestinian, Zion. The Zionists are completely wrong. They're oppressed, not completely wrong. The Zionists are oppressive. They are a corrupt regime. They need to be removed. They need to be shunned like the Nazis are shunned in this day and age. This is going to happen by God's grace. But let's talk now Jew and Muslim, okay? the mountain, the Temple Mount, is a place for Muslims to go and pray. Okay, it is a place for a Muslim, a believer, Sunni, Shia, Quran alone, all types of Muslims that follow the Gentile prophet, for them to go and pray. Okay. However, for the Jew, that place, the Temple Mount, it is a place for them to go sacrifice their goats and their sheep and whatever else they want to sacrifice in the name of God, to feed the people in Jerusalem and to feed themselves. Muslims do that in Mecca. Jews do that there. Okay, as God says that for every nation, right, ummah, God created to them a ritual or a mensek, right, or a sacrifice for them to say the name of God on these creatures in their specified time periods, to sacrifice them and to feed people. The Jews' place of doing that is the Temple Mount. If I, by God's grace, one second. Okay, so the Jews' place is in that location. If I, by God's grace, by I don't know how, ever, if I take over the Temple Mount and I'm capable of sustaining the peace, I would have a system for any time during the year. If a Jew A wants to come pray, he would be allowed to pray in his designated area, and a Christian as well, but Christians, I don't know what they do, bro. And they will be allowed anytime during the year to bring a goat up to the Temple Mount, to the position that it needs to go to, just like how there's a position in Mecca technically, for them to say the name of God, cut the thing, and even provide services to bag it, to cut it up, to clean it, to make sure the blood is going to where it's supposed to go, to make it correct. And there's other procedures that I understand from the Quran, technically, what needs to be done in that place, and it has to be done. That's God's test for the Gentile prophets, followers, us, the believers. That is a test for us. Is are we going to allow, if God gives us the control of that area, are we going to allow the other people that say they believe in God to do their rights? Or are we going to stop and say, hey, bro, there's no rituals in the Torah. You can't kill a cow here. Hey, bro, there's no prayer. There's no prayer in the Torah. Oh, man. Hey guys, close these churches. There's no prayer in the there's no prayer in the gospel. Oh, man. Sorry guys, that was just funny. That's why those people ain't gonna go very far. How are you gonna go to everyone in the world and be like, hey man, like you're all pagans. You're praying. You're calling upon your Lord. Exactly. Hey. Yeah. welcome to the Temple Mount. You're cooperating. We're gonna kill you. Oh, man. All right, guys. I think this is a positive note. No, the word Nasara does not have anything to do with Nazareth. Nasara is from the word Nasar, victors. Men ansari ilallah, who are my victors to God. That's what Jesus said. He said, Nahnu Ansar. But instead of being Ansar, they opted to be Nasara. Why? We started giving victory to Jesus instead of victory to God. Okay, guys. I'm sorry. All right. I'm sorry. Guys, I keep reading these things that people send me in regards to their interpretations. Some people have literally made the Quran an open buffet. The Arabic is exactly what you want it to mean, not what the Arabic actually means. Like the Arabic is free Arabic itself is free for interpretation for some people. And then they come to me and it's like, hey bro, this word means this. I want to go to somebody. I wanted to do this so bad at one point in Lebanon. Just go to somebody like up in the street. I'm like, hey man, like I'm learning Arabic. How long have you been speaking Arabic? He's gonna be like, my whole life. I'm literally living in a place where we speak Arabic the whole time. I'm gonna be like, how do I say, like, what does lahmul khanzir mean? And he's going to be like, pig's meat. I'm going to be like, no. I just want to see how his reaction is. It's like, hey, guy, what does a lahmul khanzir mean? And he's going to be like, pig's meat. No, it's not. Sorry, guys. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for the laughs, I guess. Excellent, excellent. Do your rituals, do what God has told you to do in the Quran. It keeps you close, keeps you connected, allows you to have the remembrance, the memory that you need to have, and it helps you flourish. It helps you stay in front of government agencies in Lebanon, asking you about Quran alone, and you stand your ground, and they trust you, and they love you, and they show you mawadda for what you believe, and they see the peace coming from you. They see the consistency. They appreciate what you're saying. You get to visit all these places in the world, and you're calling people towards God, and they can see the consistency. They can feel it. They can see the truth. Don't sit here and start to make up these wishy-washy things that the only person that can understand it is you. And you are the only key to this book, because no one else sees it the same way you do. And what you're trying to teach the other person is to find his best whims, to sit there and argue about everyone else. Because if I take 10 of you people, I wish I could do this, bro. Bring 10 of you. The Ayub character, Saeed Mirza character, the whatever other like true Islam character, the Sola Qurana, and who else? Give me one more like person that makes the videos about there's no rituals in the Quran, there's no prayer. All 5 of you. I want to bring all 5 of you, right? And bring you on the stage and ask you a question, and let's see you guys being consistent. Like, but then you could bring 5 of my team, and we'll all give you the exact. I'll bring my brother Musa. I'll bring my sister Yetta. I'll bring Baba Shuaiba. I'll bring my sister Jayas. I'll bring my sister Ashley. I'll bring my brother Munir. I'll bring my brother Armorwolf, halfway there, and I'll bring you a whole crowd of people that we will all have a consistent view to exactly what we're practicing. But you guys, you have no practice. Like, there's nothing to practice. What do you practice? You read the Quran, and your practice is, let me try to maneuver the things. Who are Ahlul Kitab? It's the people of the book. No, Ahlul Kitab linguistically means the doctors of law. Excuse me? Yes, we have a notepad here telling you it means the doctors of law. Well, I'm sorry, but the Arabic doesn't say that. It doesn't matter what the Arabic's saying. It doesn't matter that it's a clear Arabic tongue. It doesn't matter what you think. What matters is this man who is so incredibly deep and sophisticated in what he was saying. He decided that Ahlul Kitab are the doctors of law. Right? Okay, Bob. Thank you very much. With that said, I love you, bro. Yeah, that dude too. Bring him up. Bring those people up, and let's see how consistent they are. That is why we're going to succeed. Now, these people, this is my funny argument. I'm like, they don't come up because I would eat them alive. You understand what I'm saying? There's original submission. Well, if we're going to call it submission, there is the way that Prophet Muhammad submitted to God through the Quran. It's right here. Let's say that this is the original religion. Okay. From this original religion, there was a detachment called Sunnism. They took part of this religion, added stuff, okay, maneuvered stuff. Then there's this, from the original religion, you got the Shia. And then from the original religion, you eventually got the Ahmadiyyas, the Majus, the Khawarij. They all branched out from this original religion. And people are going, oh, well, there's Sunnis and Shias, and then these guys are Sunnis 2.0, even though the Shias pray. They're Sunnis 2.0. But these weirdos don't understand that we're not Sunnis 2.0. We're the original religion that all these people came from. That's why they consistently all have a ritual prayer, because they all consistently came from the exact same source that's telling you to pray. We're not Sunni 2.0. You're just hypocrite 2.0. You're just detached from reality 2.0. You're just not an Arabic speaker 2.0. You just don't know what you're saying 2.0. You're just an ignorant person who's following his whims 2.0. So it's very nice for you to say that we're creating a new sect. We're not creating a new sect. We're following the original religion. The original religion that clearly states that you have 2 times a day and a portion of the night for you to do something. What is that? To follow closely? Well, you don't have to follow closely while you're standing, because you could follow closely while you're on a bike, or while you're walking, or you're riding. Isn't that something that we can do? I can put the Quran and follow closely while I'm riding my horse. But God says that you can only do that when what? When you're in a moment of fear. So why is it in a moment of fear I can do it while riding and walking, while the verse above it is telling you to stand obediently? Oh, salah has nothing to do with prayer and talking to God. It has to do with your duties. It has to do with what you need to achieve for you to spread the religion of God. It is about it's about you fulfilling it's so spiritual, like how these guys talk, very emotional. It's for you to fulfill the laws of God and the commandments of God on the land. That is what salah is. So why can't I approach it when I'm drunk? Why does God tell you do not approach salah while you're intoxicated until you know what you're saying? So I guess salah has something to do with what I'm saying. Oh, wow. It's not about what I'm doing. It's about what I'm saying. If there's absolutely nobody around me, can I do salah? Oh, yeah, of course. You can uphold your duties and do what you want without seeing a human being. Well, I didn't have to open my mouth. Well, because it's not part of salah. Well, then why God is telling me that in my salah, not to be loud, nor to be low, but to find the path in a way to speak? That is what God is asking me to do. Oh, well, it's not about that. Salah is about a schooling session. And the schooling session means that only one man is speaking. Okay, so what do I do now since the salah is done? Like, you guys are so, salah doesn't mean namaz. Namaz is what they do, but you never find the word namaz in the Quran, because namaz is not an Arabic word. Namaz is an Urdu word. It's a Persian word. It's a word from that side of the world. It's not an Arabic word. Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, so that's why you don't come to an Arabic speaker having the preconception, the thinking that namaz is an Arabic word, and that's what means a daily ritual, or a ritual prayer. Because, by the way, buddy, if I'm going to say that I am performing a ritual prayer in Arabic, how do I say that? Because you're telling me what the Arabic works. So tell me how I would say a daily prayer in Arabic. How do I say that I just prostrated in Arabic? Just out of curiosity, just please let me know. I would like to know how I could say that I prostrated. And for a certain weird individual that really detached himself, like from all the way, how do I say the number 19 in Arabic, or the number 12? Because apparently Ithna Ashar or Tis'ata Ashar does not mean 9, 10. That's not what it means. It's not like 19. It means 9 choices, 2 choices. We all got it wrong. Every single person in history did not understand what that means. So please, guide me, because since you're the Nabi, I think that's what you think you are, because of course Nabi doesn't mean prophet either now. And tell me, what does it mean? How do I say number 11 in Arabic? How do I say the number 12 in Arabic? How do I say the number 19? But these are so amazing, aren't they? These are so topics that are bringing so much light to people. Bro, if I put 10 people, of those people, you'll see 10 darknesses and 1 true source of light. The true source of the light is the Quran. The Quran that can answer all their misconceptions. Why? Because it's a clear Arabic tongue. And watch this. I'll tell you something that's very funny. I put my name as Muhammad from God. Yep, from God. Who's God? That created me and you. You're from God and I'm from God. And we're going to return to God, by the way. So anybody that wants to say like Muhammad from Iblis or have a joke, you're literally insulting your own God. So I'm saying that my God is the Lord of the 7 skies and the land. That's my God. And then you're going to put that's Iblis. You're literally attaching the name of God to Iblis, thinking you're so smart. You're thinking that you're so collected and so well and so motivating and so spiritual with your connection, telling me that the Quran is what? Secular. Learn what the word religion means. Okay? Because lakum dinakum waliya din. You have your religion and I have my religion. You have your deen. You have your secularization and I have my secularization. Is Arab paganism, is that a religion? So why is he saying you have your deen and I have my deen? God knows. You guys are weird. I love it. I love it. I love it. Anyways, Simon Coping. Let's see, Simon. Why would you accept 7 others? What? What are you saying, Simon? Actually, salamun. Salam. Hi, bro. Salamun. Oh, thank you, bro. Why are you putting the tanween when it's just salam? Well, why is it salamun? Why can't it be salaman? By the way, like you guys have no idea the difference. فَدَخَلُوا عَلَيْهِ فَقَالُوا سَلَامًا قَالَ سَلَامٌ. You know what's the difference here? You know why it's alhamdulillah, not alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. It's not alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Why? Do you know the difference? I love that. Which one? You like this voice impression? I like this one. It reminds me of a character from what's his name? Yeah, I think it's 20 Zooms. Of course, a friendly match. It would be the funniest match in history. It would be the easiest. I can't even get one of them to agree. From Megamind to Said Mirza to all of these people, Ayub, Sola Qurana, Igor, however your name is. You're not pronouncing my name correctly. Whatever you guys' names are, please enjoy. My platform is open. I literally put like, hey guys, if you want to come up, you never come up. Because you guys have a lot of fun deducing whatever you want to deduce. And at the end of the day, it doesn't amount to much. Well, what can I tell you? And here we are, me and my good brother Baba Shuaiba. We're not only online, but like offline, going international. So we'll see where it goes. Well, you got your slide, you got our slide. We never attacked you first, but it's definitely not a Mike Tyson fight. I'm done. Stop, brother. I need to sleep. I just waged a war. There's no war to be waged. All right, guys. Intoxications. Oh, there it is. Intoxications refers to hate and anger as well. Yes. I was in sakratul ghadab. I was drunk of anger. كنت في سكرة الحب. I was drunk in love. There's a song. Okay, I can't. Sorry. No, okay. So you are not, I can't, it's not about hate and anger. I can really hate the devil in my prayer. I'm not addressing the devil just because I'm connecting what the devil does to people and how the devil makes the person think that just because the devil blows smoke up somebody's behind and the person thinks that he's so intelligent and he's connected to such a deep level that a mere mortal, a mere human being cannot connect to these levels except for what God has allowed. That the surface level is not even, who uses the surface level? Face value of what the Quran says. You have to get not one level, but 16 levels deep. So deep that when you're smoking your weed, it makes you feel so alive. So that's also a form of intoxication where I can show the hate to Iblis in my prayer because I'm talking to God, I'm thinking about God, I'm telling God what I'm witnessing the devil does, and I hate what the devil does because he's driving people away from God. It's very simple. He's driving away people from the straight path, the straight and narrow. Like there's no one in history ever that wrote a book that Salah has no daily ritual. But nowadays we do. Cool. Peace, Ash. What's up? Hi. Goofy. You just call me Goofy? Those are fighting words, sister. Okay. Muhammad, why does he call himself Baba, father? No, in his language, it does not mean father. Okay. In his language, in Ghana, when you call someone Baba, it means someone who's wise. Okay. So that's, I asked him the same question. He's not calling himself father. He's calling himself wise man. Like, because people gave him that label. Okay. He was going off something that was attached to him from his elementary years, because he was somebody that was people just, I mean, if you guys know the public view of Baba. I know him personally. Like, I've interacted with Baba for many hours. As he teaches me, we talk about things, we see the world together, we make plans together. I know Baba personally. he is extremely wise and he's extremely consistent. Something that I learned from Baba, and I try to approach life in a manner how Shriba does it, is through how consistent he is. and, and if he is right, if he knows he's right about something, which he deduced, it does not matter if the whole world is telling him he's not right. He's gonna be consistent with it. Okay, and it's to God for him. So, but he had this character as in his elementary years, and as I said, he's an enigmatic person. He's a person where people just naturally want to listen to him. Okay, so he had that as a growing up as well. Before he knew the Quran, people would trust in his insight, and they could see the intellect in him. So people gave him in his country the title Baba, anyways. So Baba Shrine, that's what it is. See, in South Asia, Baba means wise. So it is in the same meaning. He doesn't mean daddy. Please don't go around call him Daddy Shrine. That'd be weird. I'm sorry. Yeah, exactly. There's Baba Sidhu as well. Uh-oh. Oh, I'm sorry. May God ease that struggle for anyone who knows that individual, and may God forego many of his errors. I don't know what that person's view was for God, so, but that's all I can say. Okay, guys, I really gotta go. It was just funny at the end. Exactly. See, someone always, yes. You can tell he had reason and logic from a young child. Yeah, this is a blessing from God. Blessing from God. My blessing was just understanding Boolean logic. I was a computer nerd. I'll tell you guys a personal story. I shouldn't be, but I'll tell you a personal story. This is in 19, no, what year would this be now? It would be like 2001, 2001, around that area. Anywhere from 1999 to 2001, 2002. I was flying a plane. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Okay, so I was known as like just someone who's good at computers. At that time, we had floppy disks. We had dial-up internet. We had these big screens, these big computers that made a lot of noises. Nothing like what we have today. Well, no, similar, but it was much different technology. So I had this English teacher. I'm not going to say her name, but Miss TJ. He knew that I was a troublemaker, but they just knew that I'm good at computers. It's just natural. SubhanAllah, it's just God's blessing upon me. And she had her curriculum for the next year on a floppy disk. And she worked on this curriculum for many months. Okay. And she would save it on her floppy, save it on her floppy. She would work on it. And one day she puts the floppy in, she opens Word, she clicks file open, selects A drive, A drive, and then she tries to double click the file will not open. It got corrupted. The save file was corrupted. So it was a big document that she no longer has access to, and she was pretty upset. She went first to the computer teacher, said, "Can you do anything?" "No, this cannot be fixed." The floppy disks, which they often used to get corrupted, got corrupted. She took it to the engineer, the person that does the networks in the school, take a look at it. No. She took it to other few people who are in the fields of, nope. And then little old me in grade 7, she, her last ditch effort, she comes, knocks on I was in I believe in, at that point, geography class or history class. She comes, knocks on the door. The other teacher, she picks in and she was like, "Hey, can I see Muhammad for a minute?" I'm like, "Oh, bro, I'm in trouble again. I'm not even in your room. Why are you calling me? Why am I in trouble? What did I do now?" So she calls me outside. She takes me outside. And she goes, "Look, I have this floppy. It has the curriculum for next year. I gave it to the school teacher. The computer teacher, the school engineer. Nobody's able to help me. I know you know your computer stuff. Can you see if you can fix this?" "Sure." Take the floppy and I ask her one question. "Where was the last time you used this floppy?" She takes me to her room, to not her personal computer, but one of the computers there. She goes, "This computer, I used it right there. I put in the floppy. I go into Word, right? I go into the recently recovered files. So that would be in the temporary folder. It wouldn't be on the floppy drive, but it still needs to understand that the floppy is present, right? And then I just open the recovery file. And I was like, is this your document? And she goes, she was shocked. It was like, for me, as soon as she said, oh, I need a recovery process. Well, the only time that, like, where's the last time this folder or floppy was read? Because it has to be cached or buffered or cached somewhere. And if it was never read on any of the computers you're trying, there's no way for it to recover. So for you to recover this, I have to find the cache of it. And she's pointing me to the computer and found it. It worked. But subhanAllah, to me, it was, I felt pretty good about myself. No, that was a blessing from my God. I did a lot of things with computer from that day on. Anyways, but so, sorry, back to the point. Baba Shuaiba is someone who's very intellectual, is very wise. God says that he gives wisdom and knowledge to the people who are muhsinin, people who are good doers, people who have an honest heart, who want to be honest. It's not like Shuaiba is not, oh, people make fun of him. Oh, well, he's selling shirts, he's selling cups, he's building a brand. Baba Shuaiba's a sellout. He's charging money. You don't know where that money goes. I do. I've seen it. This man gives more than he can. Like, most of the time he's giving more than he can like afford for himself, but he's smart enough to keep like his reserve, right? He has 2 kids, but most of the money that comes in, he was in an issue where he promised people a certain thing. And then for me, just because I got a thought from God, like, let's donate to Shuaiba. I donated a number. He goes, bro, I was like literally on the verge of upsetting somebody's word because I gave him a promise that I'm going to help him with something. I didn't have the money. I already donated to another person for their rent. I donated another person for their like bills or like medicine. People in his country really appreciate him. And so anyone who wants to pull this man down and they sit online and they do this thing, you guys are weirdos. Anyways, guys. Sister Ashley, can you please remove this man's mod? His mod, remove it. I can't believe you, bro. Yes, I would shake a woman's hand according to the Quran. No, you can't shake a woman's hand, bro. You can't shake your woman. That's not sleeping with her. You can just show her a sign of peace that way. Can I high five a woman? Here. Can we high five women? I think so. I can relate with Moses. We both seen God on earth. What? Okay, then. Baba is a little bit more professional than me. Yeah, Baba is a little bit more professional than me. Baba has a different approach. Shuaiba has a different approach. He's very important. All right, guys. Yeah, you guys know, like the whole... Okay, so the prophet was left alone with a married woman. The prophet was left alone with a married woman where he was being a therapist for this woman, where she's telling the prophet the issues, and she's telling God through the prophet the issues of her husband, okay, in a private setting. The prophet had a stepson. The stepson had a wife. It's not a stepson, but he was taking care of a young man that the prophet showed favor upon. He had a wife. The prophet had an emotional attachment. He had an emotional attraction to said wife. And that said wife had like reciprocated it. Yet she was married. Guess what happened? They stuck to God's laws. They understand these feelings exist. Crossing the line is crossing the line physically. You can't have feelings for somebody. I gave this example, and I'll give this example again because it's something that you need to understand. I had a girlfriend. This is not true. This is not a real story. I had a girlfriend. I was married. Not a real story. And she died in a car accident. And then I got married. And I still have emotional attachment to my ex. Now flip the roles. Does that mean the wife is cheating on you just because she's still attached to her like dead husband? No, dude. So anyways, So you can shake a woman's hand. You have to understand that there are ways of being friendly to the opposite sex. It is not your fault if that person developed feelings. It is not your fault if you developed feelings. Where is it your fault? Is when you cross the line. You cross the line and you make things physical, then you're in trouble. If you sit there and you now sit and constantly all day lust for this person, you sit there and you're like fantasizing about him all day and you're crossing lines, then you're in trouble. But you can repent and fix yourself and try to never do that again. But to sit there and try to literally put a girl in a freaking fridge, close the door, and no one's allowed to see her, and I'm gonna beat you up for just looking or saying hi to a girl, how is your society going to like function? How is your girls going to get married other than you picking her husband? What if, like, anyways? Good night. Good night. Assalamu alaikum. There's another button. Assalamu alaikum.